This is a story all about how this unicorn's life got turned upside down. This'll only take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how this unicorn came to the realm of despair. Alright, so as much as this is the story of a unicorn who gets summoned to Barovia, this is also the story of my group of neurodivergent teens who I run through Dungeons & Dragons every Sunday. At this point, we're playing the Curse of Strahd campaign, so we're in Barovia. To kind of set the scene for this story, I would have to let you know that they do have a custom homebrew item, which came about through the group killing one of their own party members, who was a wild magic sorcerer. And as a nod to the fact that your soul never truly leaves Barovia and doesn't pass on into the afterlife, I've had characters that die inhabit some of the items of the party. So they got a dagger that whenever a natural one is rolled in the proximity of the dagger, it triggers a wild magic surge for whoever rolled the natural one or centered on that person. Now, the group has arrived at Argynvostholt. They have been here before, but they just came back to tie up some loose ends. The party was quite weak at this point. They are level 7. They're not weak strength-wise, but they wanted to have a rest. So the marshals in the group decided to have a short rest, and the rogues decided that they would continue to explore alone. You know where this leads if you have played Dungeons & Dragons before. So the rogues went off to explore the rest of Argynvostholt while the rest of the group were resting. They triggered a very, very nasty trap, and I've seen it remarked on in several Reddit posts and things that this trap is just brutal. But you know, they're level 7. They have the tools to deal with this kind of stuff in their arsenal. They chose to split the party. The trap wasn't overpowered for their level, so I let it roll. This meant that one of the rogues died very, very early on. There were 4 ghosts surrounding one of the players. They all stabbed him at the same time on the same turn. And this led to him being dropped into death saves and then attacked again. So he went not only into death saves, failed 2 death saves, sorry. When you get attacked, you fail 2 death saves. He had to roll 1 death save, and unfortunately, even though he was a reborn, he failed. This meant he was dead outright, straight off the bat. The other adventurers, of course, heard what was going on, and they rushed to the aid of their party members. They were too late to save the first rogue, but the other rogue was still alive. He had a dagger of blink, so he was able to kind of survive a little bit longer and a displace of his cloak, so he's quite durable. So the other adventurers arrived, and the cleric used Turn Undead to quickly turn the tides of the battle. So things were going in their favor. Now, this was when the rogue rolled a natural 1. This triggered a wild magic surge, and we rolled up a unicorn. So a unicorn just appears out of nowhere. It says that the unicorn's under the control of the DM, but our rogue speaks Elvish, so the unicorn attempted to communicate with them all. Discovered that the rogue spoke the same language, and it began to kind of start healing wounded party members, buffing the cleric who was currently fighting several ghosts, and doing what it could to help in the situation. There was no reason for it not to, although it did take a bit of issue with the fact that there were several reborn or undead in the party. It was a bit confused as to who was on whose side. The ghosts were fighting zombies, and it's all a bit chaotic, as it is in D&D. The rogue got annoyed with the unicorn and told the unicorn to go away. I was more than happy for the unicorn to just teleport away. It had no reason to stay here if its services weren't needed. But then the rogue said something which he would later regret. He said that before the unicorn left, he would insult it with a tirade, a poisonous tirade of insults. and really made a real point of saying that he really abused this unicorn. The thing is, the unicorn was communicating with the rogue in Elvish telepathically, so none of the other group members were aware of their communication. So I think the rogue was very much trying to gaslight the unicorn into attacking so that he could then justify killing it and taking its horn and blood to sell. And I just couldn't let that stand. I mean, the unicorn wouldn't let that stand. It was just so unnecessary. So the unicorn thought he would teach the rogue a lesson and knocked the rogue unconscious. It was never going to kill him, as a celestial. It saw, what he'd done wasn't worth killing him, but it wanted to teach him a lesson. That was just uncalled for. The paladin rushed over and revived the rogue, which was all fine, and the unicorn was preparing to leave. And then the rogue attacked the unicorn and drew blood. I made a point to ask the paladin if he considered the unicorn an enemy at this point. This would be very important, as the rogue's attacks do a lot of damage, and he has stood a good chance of one-shotting this unicorn. So I asked the paladin, do you consider the unicorn to be an enemy? He said no, absolutely not. He would probably consider the unicorn an ally. So in this case, I ruled that he would not get sneak attack because he was not necessarily allied with the paladin in attacking the unicorn. Let me know in the comments if you think this was the wrong call. Of course, this infuriated the unicorn, and he began to just ruthlessly stomp the rogue into the ground. For those of you who don't know, unicorns have 3 legendary actions. And they hit on like a +7, so they're no joke in combat. They're only CR 5, but they have 3 legendary actions which can be used for 3 attacks per round. The paladin threw himself in the way in between the unicorn and the rogue in an attempt to stop the unicorn from destroying the rogue completely. This was successful. The unicorn is strong, but the paladin rolled, at first they rolled a tied athletics check, and then the paladin rolled a natural 20. If you've watched my story of Bob the Paladin on my profile, then you will know that Bob is a bit of a hero, a cult hero in this group already. So Bob the Paladin got in the way and stopped the rogue from getting killed. The rogue, realizing his mistake now, attempted to flee, but the unicorn is significantly faster than even a dashing rogue, who can go up to 90 feet, but the unicorn dashing can go 100. So the unicorn easily caught up to him, and now the rogue was distanced from his healer. So the unicorn used all of those legendary actions to just stomp the rogue into the ground. And there was no coming back this time. It was here to kill, and no one was willing to fight the unicorn and stop it. So in this case, the rogue died. Let me know if you think I handled this wrong. I'd be very interested to hear your takes on what you would do in this situation. But thanks for listening.